What's up, everybody? Justin here. This is a special, very special countdown show, sports related. I want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine on Twitter. Suggested that I do this show, that he would like to see me do a show. My top 10 or countdown of my favorite Green Bay Packer players of all time. So thank you, Carmen, for the suggestion. I should have done it a long time ago, to be honest, but I just didn't think of it. Got a lot on my mind, other show ideas on my mind. So thank you, Carmen. He's a great guy on Twitter to follow. His Twitter handle is at Eagles12, maybe 29, 12, something else, at Eagles12. Anyways, his name is Carmen. He's from Philly. Great guy and good friend of mine on Twitter. So thank you again for suggesting I do this show. So here's my countdown. It is a top 20. I was going to do a top 10. Obviously, I got to represent with some Packers gear. They are my favorite football team, and they're a little bit above the Milwaukee Brewers, even though I love the Brewers because I was born in Milwaukee. But still, football is my favorite sport. That's why the Packers are above the Brewers. So I was going to do a top 10, but there's so many damn players I loved watching, and that did damn good. A lot of good things for the Packers. So it's a top 20. This is my top 20 Green Bay Packers. Number 20. I'm not sure how long he's on the team. I think a couple years. Guy had a lot of sacks. Guy was a great defensive lineman. Kabir Baja Biamila. I believe that's how you say his name. Kabir Baja Biamila. The guy was a damn good defensive player. Had a lot of sacks. The guy's probably top 5 all time in Green Bay Packers sack leaders. The guy's a really good athletic, hard playing defensive player. Number 19, Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb, he doesn't get enough credit for what he's done. He's been a Green Bay Packer, I believe, 8 or 9 years. I believe close to 10 years maybe. Anyways, Randall Cobb, the guy's a really good receiver. When he's healthy, in the last 2-3 years, he hasn't been that healthy. He hasn't got to play in every game. It's one thing that just really bothers me about football and the NFL is a lot of star players are always getting injured. Seriously. A lot of star players on your team are always getting hurt and can't play for 3-4 weeks. And that pisses me off. But injuries are going to happen in pro football. It's a damn rough game. It's a violent game. Violent sport. I mean, you got guys on both sides running into each other with helmets on. Basically, almost every play, you could suffer a concussion. If you get hit or you get your head slammed into the turf, you could suffer a concussion on almost any play in football. So 19 is Randall Cobb. The guy's great chemistry. Randall Cobb has great chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. They're really good together. Sadly, I don't think we should have traded Jordy Nelson. Or not trade him. We shouldn't have let him go to the Raiders. Should have signed him. Because he would have been another good weapon for us. And Rodgers and Jordy Nelson were damn good friends. And they had great chemistry. Number 19, Randall Cobb. The guy's a really good player when he's healthy. Number 18, another wide receiver. This guy would probably be in the top 15, but he had to jump. I get it. Football is a business, and any player has a right to go to any team they want to get a job again, to get paid. But this guy jumped to one of the teams I hate the most is the Minnesota Vikings. I really dislike them. I think they're scum and they're a dirty team. Or they used to be a real dirty team back when Favre played. So anyways, number 18 is Greg Jennings. The guy currently works on FS1. He's pretty good football analyst, but the guy to jump to the Minnesota Vikings. But he was still, the guy was in his prime. He did win a Super Bowl with the Packers. He did help us get to a Super Bowl. Greg Jennings, number 18. Greg Jennings, the guy had really great games playing with Brett Favre in Green Bay. Then he got to play with Favre again in Minnesota. That was disgraceful. That I don't think I'll ever get over that. Seeing Brett Favre in a Vikings uniform, that made me sick. But still, I respect Favre a lot. So it's okay. So 18's Greg Jennings. Again, the guy had a really good career with Brett Favre and the Packers, and he had a good career with Aaron Rodgers the time they played together. I believe they played together like 6-7 years, maybe longer. They knew each other longer because Rodgers was a backup for 3 years when Greg Jennings was still on the team. 17, great receiver. Underrated receiver. Guy, a lot of damn good, great games with the Packers. Guy played his heart out. Number 17, James Jones. Another guy works on TV. James Jones works on the NFL Network as an analyst. Former Green Bay Packer, former Oakland Raider. But James Jones had a great run. In my opinion, the best of his career with the Green Bay Packers. I believe he did play with Brett Favre, I think. Maybe his last year. Last year of Favre in Green Bay, I think James Jones was playing. Had a great run with Aaron Rodgers. James Jones, Aaron Rodgers, still, I believe, are good friends. They had great chemistry together. 1 year, when the Packers brought back James Jones after Jordy Nelson tore his ACL, James Jones then had a 14 touchdown season. 14 touchdown pass season. Number 16, great running back. I believe he's a all-time leading rusher for the Packers. Number 16, Ahman Green. Ahman Green, guy was damn good. Great running back. Never got to win a Super Bowl with the Pack, but Ahman Green deserves to be on the top Packers countdown. Number 15. By the way, this is my top 20 Green Bay Packers. Number 15, he played way before I was born. He played in the 20s, 30s, maybe the 40s, or maybe starting the 30s or 40s. I believe he's still around in the 40s. Number 15, they got a practice facility named after him, Don Hutson. The guy was a really good receiver for his time. He's probably one of the best receivers for his time. One of the best receivers in NFL history is Don Hutson. Why? Why do I say that? The guy had 90 touchdown catches. 90 touchdown catches within 9 to 10 years. That is damn good for playing in the 20s, 30s, or 40s. Those are like legendary Hall of Fame numbers to put up 90 touchdowns. That's crazy for that time when they didn't pass the ball that much back in those days. By the way, the Packers, everybody knows they're a legendary franchise. They are 100 years old this year. So Don Hutson, the guy might be forgotten by a lot of newer fans. I wasn't alive when he played, but Don Hutson's one of the greatest Green Bay Packer receivers, probably of all time. Number 14. I mean, it could be argued. A lot of people would say Don Hutson is better than or tied with right below Jerry Rice as the greatest receiver of all time. Number 14, Mason Crosby. Great kicker. It was sad to watch when he missed 4 to 5 field goals in Detroit. That was really sad. I felt really bad for him. It wasn't his fault that they lost in Detroit. The whole team did not play good in the first or second quarter. They played like garbage until the second, third quarter. Mason Crosby got the game-winning field goal last Monday against the 49ers. Mason Crosby is a really good NFL kicker. The guy's really good. I believe he's the all-time leader in points for the Green Bay Packers. Also the all-time leader in field goals made. Number 14, Mason Crosby. 2016 or 2017, Mason Crosby in Dallas defeated the Dallas Cowboys with an epic field goal that went through to go to the NFC Championship. I believe it's 2 years ago. Number 13, Charles Woodson. Guy came over from Oakland. No other team really wanted him. I guess they were afraid he'd get injured. I don't know. But Charles Woodson was great. Charles Woodson was a really all-time great defensive player for the Packers. 1 year, he won Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know what year, but was the Defensive Player of the Year. And he got to play in the Super Bowl, and he got a ring with the Green Bay Packers. Charles Woodson, also a former Heisman Trophy winner, got a ring with the Packers. Also, sadly, in that Super Bowl against the Steelers, he broke his collarbone and didn't get to play in the second half. Number 13, Charles Woodson. The guy was great cornerback. Was good at sacking. Was good at doing blitzes. Was damn good at intercepting passes also and getting fumbles. Recovering fumbles. Or causing fumbles. Stripping other players. Number 12. This guy's, when his career's over, this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. Hall of Fame receiver. He's also going to be a Packers Hall of Famer. But I believe he's that good. He will be an NFL Hall of Famer. Number 12, wide receiver Davante Adams. Currently, the guy's in his prime. The guy's more touchdowns the past 3 to 4 seasons than any other receiver. Him and Rodgers are great together. Great chemistry. So you want to say, what the hell's his name? The receiver from the Giants, Odell Beckham. You want to think he's the best receiver? No. He might be if he had a quarterback that was competent, because Eli Manning absolutely sucks right now, and the guy should retire or get cut. So if Odell Beckham had a great quarterback, maybe he'd be looked at as really good, one of the top receivers, but he's not. He's not. He's great talent, but he's not the best receiver. Right now, the best receiver is Davante Adams, in my opinion. Number 12, Davante Adams. Number 11, great Packer receiver in the 90s. Played into the early 2000s, won a Super Bowl with Brett Favre in 97. Went to another Super Bowl the next year. Number 11, Antonio Freeman. Antonio Freeman, the guy is a damn good receiver. Really good. Him and Brett Favre had I believe, over 60 to 70 touchdown passes together. So number 11, Antonio Freeman. And this top 20, there's a lot of receivers on it because the Packers, I've seen them all play, except for Don Hudson. A lot of these receivers I've seen growing up and watching as an adult. They're damn good receivers. Number 10, I did not get to see this guy play, but he was damn good. Bart Starr. Bart Starr does not get enough credit. The guy was a damn good quarterback. Not a great quarterback, but really good at managing the game. Bart Starr won Super Bowl I, won Super Bowl II, and before the Super Bowl existed, Bart Starr was already a 6-time NFL champion, or 4 to 5 time, maybe 6-time NFL champion. Bart Starr, of course, played in the 60s and was coached by the legendary Vince Lombardi on those great Packer teams of the 60s. Number 10, Bart Starr. Again, I'm going to talk about Tom Brady. I believe he has 6 rings. I think 6, maybe 5. But Bart Starr had 6 NFL championships. Also, 2 Super Bowl rings. But bottom line, Bart Starr won a lot of championships before the Super Bowl existed. Number 9, Leroy Butler. Great defensive player, great cornerback. He has to rank on the all-time list of interceptions in Packers history, I believe. Might be the all-time leader in interceptions. I'm not sure for the Packers. So Leroy Butler, most importantly, in 1993, Leroy Butler started the Lambeau Leap. That's pretty awesome. So Leroy Butler played in the early 90s, into the 2000s, early 2000s. Again, he's a really good defensive cornerback. Number 8, Robert Brooks. Damn good receiver. I thought he was underrated. The guy played with Brett Favre mostly, playing the early 90s, late 90s, maybe early 2000s. Robert Brooks was a great receiver. But I do remember Robert Brooks would always take some of the hardest hits. He'd seriously take some of the hardest hits I've ever seen and get knocked out of the game a lot. But he'd always come back. He'd always come back the next week. So number 8, Robert Brooks. Really good receiver in the 90s. Number 7, Jordy Nelson. Gave the Packers 10 years of just great play, except for the 1 year he's out with a torn ACL. Number 7, Jordy Nelson. Him and Rodgers own the all-time touchdown. They broke the record of Brett Favre, Antonio Freeman. Jordy Nelson and Rodgers have the most, I believe, touchdown passes and catches in Packers history. Number 6, this guy's an underrated wide receiver. His career ended way too soon because of a neck injury. Number 6, not Shannon. That's his brother, Shannon Sharpe. Number 6, Sterling Sharpe. The guy was damn good. He was probably the best player on the Packers before we got Brett Favre. Sterling Sharp was the absolute best player on the Packers. Him and Favre had a pretty good run together. They made the playoffs, I believe, 3 years in a row. And sadly, Sterling Sharp had a career-ending neck injury and decided to retire. Maybe he could have rehabbed and came back. I don't know. But Sterling Sharp, that guy's one of the best Packers of all time. He's number 6. Number 5, former. You'll like this, Carmen. Number 5 is a former Philadelphia Eagle. He was in his prime with the Eagles. Also, in his first couple years with the Packers, he was also in his prime still. Number 5, Reggie White. Just Reggie White. Super good guy, super nice guy. What a damn good defensive player. The guy would just throw people off with one arm. He'd push them off with one forearm and then sack the quarterback. Reggie White, all-time great NFL player, all-time great defensive player. The NFL's leading sack leader. And then Michael Strahan broke the record, but Reggie White had a ton of sacks. One of the all-time greats. Number 5, Reggie White. When free agency started back in 1993, the Green Bay Packers actually got Reggie White. That was pretty amazing. And Reggie White got a Super Bowl ring with the Packers, went to another Super Bowl with them. It's just very sad and tragic that Reggie White passed away because he's way too young. Number 4, Donald Driver. Great receiver. Super nice guy. Great to the fans. Donald Driver is just a fan favorite of a lot of Packer fans. Donald Driver, he was the man. He was great with Brett Favre. He was great with Aaron Rodgers. I believe Donald Driver is the all-time receiving leader in yards, I believe, for the Packers. Might be the all-time leader in touchdown passes. I don't know. Or touchdown catches. I'm not sure. But Donald Driver was an all-time great Green Bay Packer. Number 3, Clay Matthews. Clay Matthews, maybe not this year. Might not be in his prime anymore, but he's still pretty damn good. Sadly, this year, Clay Matthews has made normal football tackles on quarterbacks, and he's been flagged 2 or 3 times for roughing a passer, which was bullshit calls. Number 3, Clay Matthews. When the guy first came to the Packers, he's in his prime. He's a great defensive player, great linebacker. I remember a game in Minnesota where Clay Matthews stripped the running back and spun around and ran all the way for a touchdown. That was an amazing play. In the Super Bowl against the Steelers, Clay Matthews got a fumble or caused a fumble. That was awesome. Clay Matthews, really good linebacker. And the guy's probably underrated by a lot of football fans. Number 2. This guy could be number 1. But he's not number 1 because he had to go and play for the Vikings. Number 2, Brett Favre. Even though I don't like that he played for the Vikings, I'm not going to try to act like he wasn't great and he wasn't an all-time great quarterback. He's got to be in the top 5 of greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. Brett Favre, the guy's an Iron Man in the 90s when you could sack the quarterback and land on top of them. Or you could throw the quarterbacks, could pick them up, spin them around, throw them down. You wouldn't get flagged in the 90s. It was a different game. Brett Favre, just tough as nails. So damn tough. He was the Iron Man. With playoff games in regular season, Brett Favre made like over 300 straight NFL starts. Insane. That record will never be broken, I don't think, by a quarterback. Just Brett Favre, the guy is like, I believe, over 70,000 yards, over 500 touchdowns, many time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion. Brett Favre, just forget about the Packers. Brett Favre is an all-time great NFL player and should be on anybody's top 5 or 10 list of greatest players of all time. Number 2, Brett Favre. I mean, what a cannon Brett Favre had for an arm. The guy made so many unreal plays that no other quarterback could make plays that Brett Favre made. It was insane. All the great games Brett Favre played in that I watched. The guy was so damn good. I respect the hell out of Brett Favre. I respect him forever, love him forever for what he did for the Packers. Number 2, Brett Favre. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers. Why is Aaron Rodgers number 1 over Brett Favre? They have the same amount of Super Bowls. 1. Aaron Rodgers, if he can stay healthy for the next 4 to 5 years, he'll break over 500 touchdown passes. He'll have a lot of damn yards also. I thought I would never see another player just be as great as Brett Favre was, but Aaron Rodgers is great. He is as great as Brett Favre. And he's better. He can throw the ball with insane accuracy, like no other quarterback I've ever seen. He throws the ball when he's not missing, and when he's on his game. The guy throws the ball better than any other quarterback. And I've watched every Aaron Rodgers game. The guy's had so many great games. So many great games. The Packers should have at least 3 Super Bowls under Aaron Rodgers already. But that's not his fault. It's stupid general manager Ted Thompson's fault. And it's for not giving the defense any help. The Packers' defense always let you down. At least for me, they always let us down when Rodgers did not. If Rodgers had a great defense, the guy would probably have 3 to 4 Super Bowls already. If Rodgers played under Belichick, he'd probably have more than 2 Super Bowls. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers, the greatest Green Bay Packer of all time that I've seen play. I've seen him live. I did see him live once. In my time of being alive, watching a lot of these players, there's been no other Green Bay Packer as talented as Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion. Hope you enjoyed this top 20 Green Bay Packers countdown. Thank you for suggesting it, Carmen. You're a great guy. Keep being awesome. And I hope you enjoyed this show. Bye for now, football fans. And for the rest of the season, I'm biased, but go Pack, go.